Hi guys, this is Dan. Welcome to my channel. This is Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on the Patreon page, thank you so very much for your support. Your monthly subscriptions help me out in a big, huge way, so I really appreciate them. This is the daily forecast for the Greater Collective for Friday the 5th. So this is a timeless message. If you're watching it on any day that is not June 5th, that's okay. You can still maybe take whatever message is in here and apply it to your life. It's not necessarily only set for that day. For those of you that watch regularly, it is to be added to the energy of the week to see sort of where things are heading. Give us a little insight into what we're doing and why. We should be coming into that Eight of Wands energy, which, if I remember correctly, that Eight of Wands was sort of, generally Eight of Wands represents like fast movement, big changes, but the card that we had in the deck that we were using previous in May, she felt really distraught, kind of tied to things, trying to make decisions as to which direction to go, what what she wanted to stay connected to versus what she didn't, where she wanted to place her attention, where she didn't, that sort of a thing. There was definitely a vibe of confusion. If you go back and watch Sunday's forecast, you'll understand what I mean. So I felt like overall, the latter part of this week was going to be about sort of us self-reflecting, especially with that Seven of Pentacles from the midweek. So, both felt very sort of not confused, but I would say like becoming more aware through spending time, looking at things for what they are, if that makes any sense at all. And so hopefully that is what's happening for you guys, or you're finding opportunities where you can be more reflective, where you can look at things, see where your attention is being drawn towards. Is it something that's, benefiting you, or is it not? Those are the questions that I felt like should be being asked this week. There's certainly a lot going on in the world that's vying for our attention right now. Is it stuff that we can, solve? Is it stuff that, by giving it our attention, are we making ourselves feel better? Are we making, change the situation? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So we're going to see what's going on with this this Friday, and see, we're going to add this to sort of those mid and late week energies that we saw in those other two cards, and see where we end out this week. For those of you that want to support me in other ways on the channel besides Patreon, you can always follow me at Engelgeist333 on Instagram. You can also just share the video out, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, or follow my business page on Facebook. You can book a private reading. If you have any questions about that, you can just message me at Facebook at the Facebook business page. Those are available to you too. And if you see a deck that you like, any of my unboxing videos or in my deck videos in the description, there should be Amazon affiliate links if I bought the deck via Amazon. Then using that Amazon affiliate link entitles me to a small percentage of the sale. So if you go about buying a deck through my affiliate link, I'll get like $1 or something. So it's kind of like throwing me a tip. So that's another way. Sorry, I'm sort of like a little bit slow today. I feel like my ass is dragging, excuse my language, but I do feel a little bit like slow. Like I want to call in sick to work today. Oh, great. It's our old friend, the Nine of Swords. Conflict and anguish is the words here. Nine of Swords is traditionally the, excuse me for clearing my throat, it's traditionally the nightmare card. It's depicted in the tarot as that woman sitting up in bed with all of those swords above her head. She's waking from a nightmare. To me, it can be sometimes actual real nightmares, things that we're really truly worried about that could be possibilities. But I always sort of view the Nine of Swords as being something that hasn't actually really come to physical fruition, that we need to be mindful of where we're placing our attention, what we're focusing on could be what we're actually manifesting or perpetuating. The thing that I find interesting in this card is that these swords feel like we're all penned in from all different directions, right? Whatever is on our mind is definitely on our mind today, is sort of the vibe that I get from this. If there's something that you're stuck on, don't like, how do I want to say this? Don't judge yourself. Some of you might find yourself really stuck with a certain situation or idea that feels maybe unpleasant, that you need to grapple with, that you need to make sense of. You might struggle with it most of the day. Um, when I look at this, I mean, this for some of you it could be quite obvious. For others of you, it could be a little bit more, um, in the background, if that makes sense, like in the subconscious, things that are bugging you. But it's going to sort of, I feel like, come to the surface or become more obvious. I don't feel like necessarily when I'm looking at this card and I look at all of these swords and then I look at the clouds that are in the background of this card, I don't necessarily feel like the answer is very clear in a solution for this. Okay. We'll look at the second card and see what the second card brings. But to me, it feels like we may just need to allow ourselves kind of like a day to just sort of be, to check out. Um, and I don't mean check out like, just not deal, but if we are finding ourselves struggling, if we do find ourselves involved in some conflicting ideas or thoughts that we can't really make a clear decision on, that's okay. I feel like this card is here to tell us, don't worry. Give it time, give it space. We don't have to make split-second decisions, right? That's kind of the sense that I'm getting from this card. And the reason why I say that is it almost feels like this card is telling us to pause, because all of the way that these swords are sort of interwoven, they almost feel like the pathway through them is very small. And so we might not feel as though we can get through whatever's going on in our mind or whatever it is that we're dealing with right now. That's okay. There's a way, like I almost feel like in the previous cards with all of those cups cards that we saw in the last few days, there's a way to sort of settle our emotions and allow our mind to sort of, I don't want to say worry about these situations, but if we find ourselves worrying or feeling anguished or upset about a certain situation and we can't feel as though we can't really do anything about it, we're sort of trapped by it or stuck by it. What I really feel like this pause energy is that it's asking us to sort of stop, acknowledge our thoughts, don't let our thoughts pen us in any deeper. I almost feel like just because we're having those thoughts or just because those frustrations might be grabbing our attention doesn't mean we have to act on them. And I feel like with these clouds, we're not clear on how to act anyways, so sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. I don't know if this is going to apply to all of you today, but this is definitely what I feel like this card is trying to tell me. If there's any worries, if there's any fears that you have going on right now, and these could be fears of any kind, these could be financial fears, these could be work fears, these could be, whatever's plaguing your brain right now. These could be fears of the world, the state of the world, and what's going on in the world, if we're watching too much about all of that. I feel like what this card feels like to me is it's forcing us to look at it, but I don't feel like the solution is clear. And if that's the case, I just feel like I want to say to you guys, do not beat yourself up over that. Do not, because I feel like with the Nine of Swords always has this ability for us to be able to sort of make things worse than they need to be. And so with this card, that's sort of what I feel like. As I'm looking at how these swords are interwoven, I feel like we could pen ourselves right into a corner mentally, and we don't want to do that. If we find ourselves unable to move or make a clear decision, just take a deep breath and allow yourself that opportunity to pause and wait for those clouds to sort of clear. Let's see what's going on in the Starseed Oracle. See if there's any sort of further information to help clarify this. Interesting. Your life is a canvas, it says. Artist, manifestation, creative accountability. Do you see that? All right, so where I feel like this is taking me, or where I feel like the story is behind these two cards today, is this is calling our attention to stuff that might be unpleasant or negative, or worries that we may have. This your life is a canvas to me speaks not only positively, but it's also, I feel like it's kind of buffering this Nine of Swords, reminding us that we get to create whatever it is we focus on. And how we choose to focus on that is sort of what we can sort of like potentially create. Are we sort of looking at things from a state of misery? Are we looking at things from a state of worry, fear? And that those would be indicative of these Nine of Swords, right? Where we feel stuck and unclear. Well, this your life as a canvas says to me that, like, almost taking that pause or taking that break, acknowledging the fact that yes, you're worried and that's okay, but you don't have to necessarily act on it today in that from that state of worry or from that state of fear. You get to sort of paint the picture. You get to paint the outcome. You get to paint um, the opportunity to create something different. You might need a day or two. And that's that underlying Eight of Wands, right? Which was that forward movement card, right? Eight of Wands is traditionally depicted as eight wands kind of shooting across the card. With this Eight of Wands, I don't have the previous deck with me. I mean, it's here, but I'm not going to dig it out. It was that woman with all of those like sort of cords and ropes trailing off of her. And to me, I feel like that's similar to this energy here. It's that underneath energy of whatever we choose to sort of move towards, we will create. And we can actually create it quite quickly if we're not careful. And so that's why I feel like your life as a canvas is reminding us that if we find ourselves caught up in this Nine of Swords energy of this sort of conflict, worry, anguish, that sort of thing, to sort of breathe, back up, allow yourself a moment of, I almost want to say hesitation before you sort of buy the farm, if that makes sense. I think that the thing here is the acknowledgement is that I think that somewhere in all of this, our spirit wants us to realize that what we sort of worry about, what we focus on, when we make our decisions from a place of fear or worry or anguish, we end up sort of potentially like painting further experiences of that fear and anguish. And I feel like she wants to move forward in this card here, but like the terrain looks a little bit challenging, right? But like to me, with this card being so sort of open, it feels like the terrain can be as challenging as we make it. And if the terrain feels more challenging, which would be like these swords kind of coming at us and closing in on us, our own thoughts, our own beliefs, or just sort of just situations we're watching going on around us, feeling that they're oppressing us or causing us stress, then the more that we entertain them, the more that we like sort of paint them, allow them in, they start to become the canvas of our life. They start to become our reality, right? So I'm going to read this, Your Life as a Canvas. Is it Your Life as a Canvas? Yeah, so it would be why, just to get their description on it. But I feel like it's kind of reminding us to sort of, if we are in a state of worry, fear, just keeping in mind that worry and fear can be just as powerful to create as much as it can be to sort of keep us safe. If that makes, I hope that makes sense. Let me see here. There's a card in here called You're Not For Everyone. I love it. Your life is a canvas. Artist, manifestation, creative accountability. You're the artist of your life, and your life is a canvas. Take responsibility for your ability to create. Earth is known as a planet of manifestation. Your present moment is based on your past thoughts and beliefs. Your current thoughts determine your future. What kind of life do you want to create for the future? What are you being called to create? Reconnect with your manifesting power and align your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the vibration that matches them. It's never too late to start, and no experience is required. All you need is an open heart and a mind and consistent daily action. If you're not sure what you'd like to create, and that might be the Nine of Swords energies, guys, and that's where I feel like there might be a pause here until the clouds clear. If you're not sure what you'd like to create, start instead with a feeling of deep gratitude for all that's good in your life right now. State out loud what you're most thankful for. Look for the good in your life, and one thing will be certain: you'll find yourself attracting more and more good experiences into your world. This card is inviting you to see your entire life as a canvas, and the picture is completely up to you. Color it with your thoughts and feelings. Create the life that you most long to live. You may also be called to be more creative in your everyday life. What have you been called to create? How can you express yourself more creatively? And then the Starseed Soul inquiry is, what are you being called to create in your life? To me, I feel like with this coupled with this Nine of Swords and that Eight of Wands, it speaks to this idea that there is this possibility for forward movement and creation. If you're having any doubts, any fears, any conflicts or anguish, I would take a slight pause, acknowledge those fears and conflicts and things like that this Nine of Swords represents, and just sit with them and allow them. That was sort of also in that Eight of Wands, where she was looking at all of those different cords coming off of her, like, which one do I take, which one do I keep, which one do I let go? I felt like the woman in the card was being pulled in a bunch of different directions, almost like a puppet. So it's like, where are our thoughts puppeting us? Because whichever ones we choose to listen to, or whichever ones are the loudest, are the ones that we're going to end up being sort of painting our life with. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Let's see what the grounding stone is. What do we want to ground in for this day with these cards? Further information do we need to ground in? So this is on Tiger's Eye. This actually came up twice this week. This is the word on Tiger's Eye, which is a very grounding stone, is faith. So again, that speaks to that idea of taking that pause, having faith in oneself, one's ability to create, the artist being, or the manifester, you yourself, knowing that you can sort of choose the right route and choose the right path. And you can also, here's the thing, like, having faith that there is no real right or wrong path. Whatever decision you do end up making, even if you do pause and take a moment or a day, 24 hours, 48 hours to kind of reflect and sort of sort out your thoughts or feelings around. This is more about thoughts, right? But then our thoughts can create feelings of worry and fear. So as we sort of like pick away at some of these swords and let them go, and have faith that we will find, and ground in that faith that we will find the answers and be able to paint a better opportunity, be able to paint a better existence, be able to sort of create from a place that's much more positively charged and exciting. So I hope this makes sense for you guys. It's not the most, I don't feel like this is a bad reading, right? I don't feel, and not that there ever is a bad reading per se, I don't feel like this is a negative reading. What I feel like this reading is saying, especially with that Eight of Wands underneath, is that there's an awareness coming about within us, hopefully, that is making us all the more like smart or intelligent about where our thoughts take us and how our thoughts create for us. And if we keep that in mind today, and we have faith within ourselves, and even in faith in, like, if we take that pause, that it's okay, that things will work out, we start to believe that from that place of faith. As we ground in that, we start to deal with some of these worries and conflicts. We can start to paint that better existence. We can start to paint the idea and manifest those ideas of the things that we want versus the things that we're subjected to, or that we see as outside of our control. I hope that makes sense, you guys. That is your forecast. Please leave me a like, a share, a comment, a subscribe. And again, if anybody's interested in private reading, you can certainly contact me. I look forward to seeing how this energy builds for tomorrow, and then we'll be starting a new week for the 7th through the 13th. But I really feel like foundations are being laid right now internally. So pay close attention to what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and following those cues. Does that make sense? All right. I think that does. I hope so. I love you guys. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. And thank you for watching. All right. Bye-bye.